Hi, I'm Brendan Bushy, and I wanted to talk about credit scores. I don't know much about credit scores, but I think I know enough to say it's all bullshit. So here's why I say this. Our situation, Kathy and I, we don't have any debt. None. Not a penny. We own our own home. We own our own vehicles. We have our own business. The we we use a credit card each month to buy things on an ongoing basis, but we pay off the balance of that at the end of the month, so we never have any finance charges. That's our situation. And we have what I would consider substantial savings. Having said all that, maybe someone can explain this to me. When this year began, our credit rating was, or our credit score was 827. Now, the maximum you can have as a credit score, as I understand it, is 850. And as I understand it, there are three separate credit reporting bureaus that cover basically the United States. So I think in the area I'm in, the credit score I have is derived from TransUnion. I think they cover this geographic area. Now, I go on to every morning, I go and look at my accounts, basically bank accounts, credit card accounts, anything of that nature, just to make sure nothing screwy is going on. And I think that's a good practice. If you've never done that, I urge you to do so. I've caught over the years several irregularities that saved me a lot of grief by simply checking up on that every morning. Now, the main credit card I use, um, they offer me a free credit score every time I log on. And the credit score is TransUnion's credit score. And that's how I get to see it. So I noticed that I started the year, or we started the year with an 827 credit score, which is considered really good. And we're ending the year now with an 819 credit score, which is considered really good. But there's a difference of, I guess, 8 points. And I don't think this makes a big difference in our lives right now. But it also doesn't make any sense. We're not about to buy another house, and we're not about to buy another car. But if we purchased anything like that, we would not be financing it. So credit scores in that regard are not relevant to us. We're not needing to get loans. I don't anticipate us having to get a loan for anything for the balance of our lives unless something crazy happens. And we like to pay cash. And thankfully we can. But what I don't understand is why our credit score went down 8 points. Now, here's some facts, and these are facts. Okay. In the beginning of the year, when our credit score was 827, we had less money than we do now. We had no debt then, we have no debt now. But we have substantially more money now than we did in the beginning of the year. So if you're going to look at our credit or our credit worthiness, is that the word? I would think that having more money after a year period rather than less would lead to an increased credit score, not a reduced. The we lost, well, not, we didn't lose, but our credit score dropped 3 points in the last month simply because I took three credit cards that we didn't use. One was from Lowe's, one was from Home Depot, and the other was from Tractor Supply. And we were no longer using them, and I canceled them. And I canceled them because there are more and more breaches of our security as consumers um, at banks and financial institutions. And I keep getting notices from, for instance, banks I do business with saying there was a hack and your information might be out there and you should be aware of it because someone might try to use it to commit fraud. So I thought, well, if that's the case, and I believe it is, then why should I hang on to credit cards we don't use anymore? It's only a source of vulnerability. So closing three accounts, which I don't use, caused a reduction of 3 points in our credit score. Now, the other thing, I have another credit card which I used to use. That's from Discover. And I used to use it all the time, right? And we stopped using it a few years ago because I had a really bad experience with a customer service representative at Discover. It turned out I was correct. They talked to me in a way that I don't appreciate, and I don't allow people to talk to me. People can say anything they want to me, but they can't be rude or abusive without me pointing it out. And if I'm doing business with them, I'll stop doing business with them. So we stopped using Discover. And the guy I was dealing with, who uh, was rude, was worse than just rude, but I'll just say rude. I told him, I said, I'm going to be no longer using this Discover card, but I'm not closing it. And eventually, someone maybe is going to contact me and say, how come you're not using this card? And I'm going to say, because the last guy I talked to was really rude. You can check it out. And we charge anywhere between $1,000 and $2,000 a month on our credit card. Now, part of those is for things we use for our business: paper, ink, glass, molding, foam core, mat board. So if we weren't doing that, we wouldn't be charging that much. But we don't carry a balance. We pay it. It's just a convenient way for us to do it. So I thought, well, if anybody at Discover is curious as to why they're losing $1,000 to $2,000 a month in business from us, or what they get as a percentage from the merchants we purchase from, then they would call and I would tell them, and then maybe someone would correct what happened in the past, correct it in the sense that better educate their people so they don't come across as ill-informed and hostile, and know how to say when they're wrong. It doesn't matter. What is interesting is that our our Discover folks sent me a letter saying that you haven't used your card for almost 2 years or over 2 years. And if you don't use it before, it was a little late, before some day in January, then we're going to close it. And you have a credit line of $10,000 on this card. And um, if we close it, that might negatively affect your credit score. I thought, I thought this is a interesting way of maybe uh, coercing me. They said you just have to use it once between now and then, and we will close it. And I might mention that the credit line we have with Discover and with other credit card companies is something we keep pushing down. So I let the line at Discover be 10,000 because that was our main card. And then when I got a different card to replace that, we again have a $10,000 credit line. But we don't use that much. But they want to keep increasing it. And I keep telling them no. In fact, one time they did increase it, and I called them and said, "Why did you increase it without my permission?" I regard anything like available credit as a liability or a security liability. Someone could get access to it and cause you some grief. And so I'd like to minimize the amount of grief someone could cause. So all of this is building up to this. Our credit score went down 8 points in a year, while our overall wealth, if that's the word to use, our overall assets went up significantly. We have no debt, and we have nothing, no defaults, late payments, nothing like that, no charges um, for any kind of penalty of any kind. So why did it go down? Now, should I be concerned about this? Probably not too much, but what really motivated me to do this is it made no sense to me. And although Kathy and I will probably never be applying for a mortgage or a loan again, um, we do get insurance. We have homeowners insurance. We have insurance on our vehicles. And the rate we pay, our premiums, uh, is affected by our credit scores. Now, I don't think with an 819 credit score as opposed to an 827 credit score, that's going to affect us one way or the other. But it could. Theoretically, it could. And I don't understand why. I don't understand why we have credit scores in the first place. I really don't. If I don't understand why two people buying a car for the same price and financing it would get two different loans, um, or would get loans with two different interest rates. I just don't understand that. I would think that if I was buying a car, that my insurance rate would be the insurance rate. It wouldn't be dependent on a credit score. I don't know how else to say that. It's such a simple statement. I don't get it. And why, if I have a credit score that's high, um, and I have a comfortable amount of money in the bank, why should I pay less for a car loan or a mortgage or an insurance, annual insurance premium than someone who's been paying their bills all along, who doesn't have as much in the bank, who has a good record nonetheless, who has never been in default, never been late with a payment. They just have less money. So why should they pay more? What's going on with credit scores? And before I did this video, I called TransUnion and I spoke to someone, a representative there. I did that yesterday. And I said, look, I have some questions I'd like you to explain because I'm going to do a video and I don't want to misrepresent you in any way. or make errors needlessly. And I spoke to a young man, and he explained to me about our credit score, and he said, I, I know what you're saying, and I understand why you don't think it makes sense that your credit score goes down while your financial position improves. But you have to understand that's not what we base credit scores on. So we base credit scores on what percentage of your credit you're using at any given time. Um, and I thought, well, that's odd. And then he said, look, if you want to understand this better, we'll be happy to sell you a copy of your credit report. I was like, no, I'm not going to pay any money. I think that what this is like a lot of double talk. So, but I appreciate you sharing with me that you agree that our wealth has gone up, that we have no debt, that we've never been in default or had a late payment or anything like that. Um, and having said all that, you agree that our credit score went down because of nothing to do with what I just mentioned. And he said, yeah, that's right. It's like, okay. So I I think someone needs to look into this. And I don't understand credit bureaus. I buy something, someone notifies them of my purchase. And they have a lot of wrong information. They've always had a lot of wrong information. I've never had a need to correct them. But when I went this last time, yesterday, and spoke with them at TransUnion, I mentioned to them that the cover sheet, if you will, on my credit score lists information like my name, my phone number, date of birth, house address, email address, and also my occupation. And that what they had for my occupation was incorrect. They had something listed there that is just not the case. They might as well have put I was an astronaut there because it was that absurd. And he said, oh, that's not that important. So I said to myself, well, okay. So here you are collecting information. And if you have inaccurate information, it's not all that important to you. But the information you collect, whether it's accurate or inaccurate, is going to affect whether people do business with me or how they do business with me, whether or not I could get a loan, or whether uh, I'll be paying a high insurance premium or a low insurance premium. So if you have things like credit scores, and I'm willing to bet you do, you might want to look into this more. Maybe you'll learn more about this than I do, and you can add to this. Contact me. I think this is some arbitrary thing, and I don't, I think it works to people's detriments, particularly people with less money, people who have a lower credit score. The I don't think your credit score should go down because you uh, get rid of credit cards. And the other thing, 3 points it went down because I got rid of the credit cards, and then a little before that, it went down 1 point. Um, and in that instance, when I looked into it to the degree I could, it said, and I'm reading from their thing, that the reason it went down that 1 point is because I paid off the balance on my credit card that month. Go figure. If this makes sense to you, fine. But if it doesn't, maybe you should do some research. Maybe you should talk with people you elect to office about what they're doing about this. There's enough intrusions on our privacy without people collecting information on every transaction, financial transaction that we make, and amassing it and then giving it out to financial institutions um, in a way that affects our ability to get a loan or the amount of interest we pay on a loan or on a premium. Anyway, I think that's all I got. I may have been rambling a little. I'm sorry. I, but if you have a good explanation as to why my credit score went down 8 points when my wealth went up, when I continue to have zero debt and I have nothing indicating uh, a late payment, a delinquent payment, or anything else, please let me know. Anyway, thanks for putting up with me. That's all I got.